sometimes we use that browser. And right now we're trying to get our friend Nick back.
Yep, we're trying to get Nick back.
Link.
So we thank everybody for, sticking with us a little bit, because through the magic of technology, sometimes these things happen.
The
So,
magic is good and the magic is bad.
in the meantime, you get to watch us for a few minutes. We're back,
Yes.
and hopefully everybody rejoins us. A couple of people back in the chat room. Okay, we're kind of looking good here. Thanks for sticking with us right now. Carl is in the back of the room right now, and we're just waiting for.
I don't see that message you sent me.
Yeah, Rosalie, you betcha. Yeah.
Okay, I will. I sent it to you. I will send it to him. I'm not friends with him on Facebook, but I'll find him.
Yep. I have not recorded any albums, so I can't do any songs for you at this point. So we'll just have to wait for Nick. Once he leaves the studio.
We can talk about Ocean State Paracon this year.
I don't see why we couldn't do that.
I think that's a fantastic thing. That is my favorite Paracon of the year.
All right, so let's do that right now. Let's talk a little bit about that. Our 11th year, in no particular order, we're back. And we are back in Harrisville, Rhode Island this year after a 2-year sabbatical in Massachusetts. But we've worked out some things in Harrisville with the Assembly Theater. So it is, for all intents and purposes, the home of the event.
Do you know how to fold?
Yeah.
So it is the home of the event, and we're coming back this year. This year, our charity beneficiary will be the Tomorrow Fund. And they do some great work with families where someone is going through cancer treatments, and it's a huge financial burden on the family, with kids, the parents, and they take care of a lot of the bills that pile up, because sometimes people lose their jobs over this and have trouble with utility bills. Yeah,
they don't realize that, you pay for the health care, it's bad enough, and then you've got all these things that come up because you're not able to work, you're taking care of someone, you have other children in the family. It's a real tough time for these
people. So this is what they do. They will take some of the financial burdens off the families that are going through this. But it's going to be an amazing event this year, and it is actually being sponsored by Jacqueline Nunez of the Conjuring House.
Yeah, that's really nice of her.
Okay, you've got Nick coming back up now. So I'm not going to any longer. September 9th and 10th, the Assembly Theater. We will have vendors and presenters there, food trucks. You will be able to tour the Conjuring House on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. Saturday night, we are showing a private screening of The Conjuring. Saturday night in the theater, you can get tickets for that. And then Sunday night, a select few will get to do an investigation of the Conjuring House.
Oh, wow.
So we have all sorts of things going on that weekend. So thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about that. And without further ado, the seagulls are gone.
Seagulls are gone. I don't know where they were.
We now return you to our regularly scheduled programming. Thank everybody for their patience out there.
I knew the only way we could do this to break it down.
And let's bring on Nick.
We are going to invoke Nick. Yeah, I told him, I even sent, this new link. There he is. No. Yeah, the wizard.
It worked.
Yeah.
Hey, man. How are you, man? It's great to see you guys. It's such a pleasure having you guys as guests. I can't even tell
thank you for your patience.
Yeah. I mean, I respect what you guys do so much. You have no idea. So, it's a pleasure having you guys.
Yeah.
So do you believe in PK, that, some people can affect machines?
Well, you know what? It's funny because when I do podcasts or when I go on the radio, I went on the Lisa Wexler show a couple of years back, and I think next week I'm going on her show. And she pointed it out that there was whenever I go on there, her speakers start reacting to my voice, like having this static. And so I was doing a podcast a couple months back, and I was telling the tech there, I was like, a lot of times when I do these, I have these weird phenomenons here where the equipment malfunctions. I just have to warn you, all of a sudden the umbrella lights start blinking. So during the podcast, I told the interviewer, I was like, "You won't believe what happened," and as soon as I said, it started blinking again. But no, I have this electric. I don't know if it's electrokinesis, but I've touched light bulbs and they flash and all sorts of stuff happens. It's very bizarre.
So it's all right if we blame any glitches on you?
Absolutely. What's funny? One of my friends, Rosalie, I think she's watching now. She just messaged me. She said, "This is your fault. It's because of you."
Oh, it's because she knows you that well.
Yeah, she knows me well. So
well, you're our guest.
The seagull thing is a new thing, though. The seagull thing.
I just figured we'd have to break it down and start anew.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, you have to do that to get rid of another entry, another program. And I can navigate. I can navigate my phone with more alacrity than I'm given credit for. So I knew I had to resend. I had to resend the link she sent me. I had to resend it to myself because my phone was just waking up, and that woke it up. And here you are, and we still blame you. But that's a talent you have. There is something to it. I mean, if you can manipulate matter through psychokinetic force,
long story.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to when we had those dial-up modems and. Back in the early 90s, this is how I found out. I used to kick my sister off AOL.
Yeah.
And I used to kick her off AOL. And then I didn't even believe
to picking up the phone.
I just thought it was a coincidence. And then I showed my brother, and my brother is, he's not really into paranormal or anything. He was stunned by it. So, every time I wanted to go on AOL, I would, visually kick her off. I can't even describe it. It was
oh my.
It's supposed to use your powers for good.
Well, I like to think of this
that's
man.
Why I do the paranormal now.
You're a prestidigitator. Oop.
Yeah, that's why I do. That's why I'm in into the paranormal. To help others. It's very rewarding.
Yeah.
We get some very intense cases too. I'll tell you that. Oh my gosh.
It is real. There's a principle called cocoon thinking where people say, "Oh, there's nothing to it. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on, you guys, wishful thinking, imaginations."
Yeah. These days it's a little bit harder for them to think that way because of like all these people are getting all this stuff, all this evidence all over the place. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something's going on where the veil has opened and where our two worlds are bleeding into one of each other. That's how I feel. Like the paranormal world wall and our wall is like bleeding, like dye on a piece of cloth into each other.
So do you think these things are stacked like different layers, or do you think they're all just running along at the same time?
I think that there's a lot more interdimensional stuff and scientific stuff going on. I mean, I believe in a lot of I tell you this, the stuff I see. I know
tell us what's
Carl has heard my story a little bit at Salem Paracon. And this portal, it still does to this day, will open up at nighttime at my bedstand or at the back of the bottom of my bed. And like this cloud comes out and it's this doorway and all sorts of creatures come through, human spirits come through. Creatures, I say creatures, that's the only thing I could describe them as. There are some dark entities that come through as well. I have the ability to close the door, which I learned.
So when you see they're dark, do they look dark, or do you get a bad feeling from them?
They look dark, and I get a bad feeling from them. And this has been going on since I was a child.
Do they give you any messages or speak to you? Or
the weird thing is I could see this stuff, but I don't have the hearing ability, which is so strange. My guy, I have an EVP specialist on my team. He's so good at getting EVPs. I envy that. I'm good at videos.
Yeah.
But he has the clear audio thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't see it. It's a reverse with him.
Yeah.
But when that portal opens up on my bed, sometimes I get my Pulcher script out, and that piece of equipment is great. Yeah. It's $400, but it's so worth the buy. I mean, it's like the Ovilus on steroids. Like I could almost have full conversations with spirits on that thing.
Oh, wow.
It's
that's the future of. That's part of the future of paranormal research, because This is precisely what nigh on to 400 years ago, Dr. John Dee and Edward Kelly were working on, like ripping the fabric of the dimensional wall
Mm-hmm.
and letting things come in. They call them angels.
Yes.
So they interpreted the beings that came to them.
Yeah.
From whence we get Enochian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a believer in that. Totally.
Mm.
Because before I knew how to close the portal, you know, I used to call upon like Archangel Michael, and I had so many. I almost consider him like a close friend. That's because I was going through such a traumatizing time with seeing all these beings. It was so traumatizing. Like they would pull the sheets off my bed or the covers off my bed. Stuff would like objects would thrown across the room, and I would call upon Archangel Michael. All of a sudden, I feel my bed sinking as like something's like sitting on my bed, and this white flash comes on, and everything's good, and I'm sleeping like a baby. And like a minute later, so I mean, it's absolutely real, and I'm very grateful that I have such a close relationship with the higher power and supernatural beings like that. That I believe in it very much so.
Would that, I'm sorry.
No, you go on.
Would that activity only happen at night while you were in the room, or were there other things that would go on when you were not there?
That when I was not there too. Yeah, I put surveillance cameras up there, and I got the cheap one at Walmart, just to mess around with it. That hooks up to your phone.
Right.
And I was getting all these these messages on there, and I was like fascinated. It was all in my bedroom in Norwalk. I live in West Haven now. It rarely happens here, but it's mainly over there for whatever reason. I mean, I did I'll be honest with you. When I was younger, I did get into some heavy occult stuff, and I blame that for the reason for that.
Yeah, who would do such? Elise looks at me and says, "Who would do such thing?" Do you know about my past? I used to call that.
I know about your past.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
We're very similar.
Yeah, I think so.
You're kind of a wizard yourself.
Somewhat, I like to think.
I like to say wizard. Nobody says that.
Nobody says that anymore.
Yes, I like it. That's why I'm growing up. No, I know about your past. I know a bit.
Yeah. I remember Mako in the role of Subutai, and in the next movie they called him Subutai. Yeah. Mako, that's the Japanese actor. He would say in Conan the Barbarian. He said, I am a wizard, mind you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Conan the Barbarian. What a great movie that was.
Great theme music too.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, all those 80s and early 90s sci-fi movies were so good, like Crawl and all that stuff. And you know that movie Crawl, Krull?
Yes.
That's another movie like that was very good.
That's Robert Irvin Howard. It
was a good one.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I dig all that stuff.
This is my tool for opening the dimension. Winding open portals.
I
think you have.
Oh wow!
Or at least
that's a nice one, man.
Yeah, sorry. I'm putting my wand in your face.
That thing at me.
I figured I'd show you mine.
Take that, man. That's cool. Did you make that?
At least it doesn't want anything to do with that. No.
Did you make that yourself?
No, I augmented it though. It was
wow.
When I got it.
Nice.
It's beautiful. I didn't add the stones, but I have decorated it and added feathers and.
You know what's interesting about the whole wand phenomenon and the crystal towards the end? It's basically an extension of yourself.
Yes.
But what happens is the more you use it, the more it charges the crystal. So that's what makes it more powerful than using your actual hands itself and visualization. Because the difference is that it charges so many times. The more you use it, the more potent the energy gets inside there.
As Elise knows, I also every full moon I leave my wand out to charge it.
Nice.
To me, it's associational. It's cool to me, so that's good enough. Mm-hmm. And it does change the crystalline structure somewhat, but very minute atomic level when you're exposed to a bright light like the full moon. So I leave it out there, and so many full moons it's been out there. And tomorrow night will be the full moon, Cinco de Mayo, and it will be the lunar eclipse.
The taco moon.
The taco moon, yeah. And this is because the bells are pleasing to spirits,
I dig it. Yeah, bells are. Yeah.
No, at least
bells and rings are very
cool. Okay. No, I didn't think you would. Yeah.
No, I don't doubt that. I mean, anything. I believe in intention. I believe in energy. So if I could decide that I want this coffee cup to be my wand, quote unquote. If
Absolutely,
I
yes.
my energy and believe
Intention.
that, yeah, I'm going to make
Mhm.
something happen with that coffee cup besides waking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without me, the wand's
I'm
not going to do
with you on
anything.
that.
This is only
Right.
because I think it's cool. The lore of the wand, as I see it, as I interpret it, for me, it's if I make a resolution, and I don't do too many of them because I always end up breaking them, but if I resolve to some course of action, some intent, and I'm regarding the wand, looking at it or holding it when I do that, I'm honor bound to fulfill that, fulfill that aspiration. And if I don't, it would weaken the magic of the wand. But it's
Right.
all associated, it's all
It's true.
association to me because
Intent,
now I know.
intent is very important.
Yes.
Yeah, if I pick this up and I promise myself something, I mean business,
Absolutely.
or I'll find a substitute for it. So
And I believe that's true with any kind of a tool you're going to use, even in investigating. There has to be some intent there. The people who are like, oh, keep that Ouija board away from me if they see it at a yard sale. And it has no intent sitting at a yard sale in somebody's front lawn. You're not using it for anything.
I'm an artist, and the Ouija board never worked for me, but I do like painting them a lot.
You make some neat ones for somebody that doesn't use them.
I like horror movies a lot. I'm a big like horror nerd, and I love painting the characters on a Ouija boards. I just think it
nice.
looks cool. But the thing is like this, right? A lot of people are terrified of a Ouija boards. I know the media I feel it's blown it out of proportion because it's no different than holding a spirit box or using a pendulum or dowsing rods.
You're going with the intent of speaking to spirits.
Yeah, all it is it's the same exact thing. I mean, if you're talking to a spirit through the spirit box or an Ovilus device or even talking out loud, I mean, that's almost very much similar to
you're putting yourself there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as soon as you open that door a little bit, you just got to be prepared for something to come out. And, unfortunately, people like us are professionals at it. So, in some form, but a lot of people dabble and start getting in, trying contacting like the wrong type of spirits or the wrong type of spirits come through. And
you're not taking charge of the conversation and what you're looking for and being clear.
That's usually when I get called, being a demonologist, like, fix it, get it out of here.
I don't know what happened. I burned 10 Ouija boards. You'd think it wouldn't bother me.
That comes from an actual case which at least
there's always a reason for any type of demonic haunting. I feel there is always something that the person or the family that lives there, somebody in there, has done, and they don't even realize it.
There's been some kind of trauma. There's been some kind of tragedy. There's been, it's rare that just, Pollyanna sweet people come in and, oh my God, there's a demon in my house. You start digging a little bit. There's people on drugs. There's people on,
and there's some unresolved conflict.
Yeah.
Drugs are another one. I mean, that's just an instant door opening right there. I mean, like those crazy hard ones, especially. Hard drugs that's an instant doorway open. I mean, that literally. But I have this interesting one. So I've been filming we've been filming for about 2.5 years, a documentary, and the reason why it's taken us so long is because we stand post at 2 houses for that period of time just to get the greatest stuff we could. I mean, if we stayed there for a weekend, we'd probably get stuff happening phenomenon, but we stood there for like 2 years,
right? We
got all sorts of like cutting edge evidence. But what's interesting is that we were dealing with this lady that was possessed, and the demon comes out, and we have hours of footage interviewing the demon. Actually loves the attention and all this other stuff. She does not want an exorcism. She does not want to get helped.
The way it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, we tried so many times. But the interesting thing is this, like, she's in the Church of Scientologist. And she let us go through like her books on the landing up there on the bookshelf. And it looked like she was doing some type of weird witchery or spell work with the Scientology texts. I swear she had all these notes, and I didn't understand the notes, but from having experience as being an occultist, I could tell that there was something up with those notes.
Yeah.
It was definitely mathematically, intentionally, uh, to invoke some type of supernatural or something like that. It was you don't see that every day. A Scientologist,
Yeah.
Scientology stuff like that. I mean, I was very fascinated by it, but
Yeah.
that was an interesting one. Yeah,
That
but
is another angle because I mean,
Yes.
there's already so much going on with people who join Scientology thinking that
Absolutely,
you're going to
yeah.
improve my life by just doing the right thing, and they
Yeah.
end up in a cult basically.
Well, I would assume you've read up on the background of L. Ron Hubbard, and he was interviewed by H.P. Lovecraft when he was a
Oh, wow.
burgeoning writer, a science fiction writer, and
Yeah.
he was asking H.P. Lovecraft for advice. He consulted H.P. Lovecraft, and after that interview, H.P. Lovecraft said, "That young man is going places,"
Yeah.
not knowing
Mhm.
what he would create, because
Oh, yeah. He was a
his
genius.
books, his art and his books weren't selling, so he created a religion.
Oh, yeah.
If we may call it that.
Yeah, well, even if it's a sci-fi book, it's the intent. So if somebody really believes that the Necronomicon is real, and it's probably gonna, happen for them if they study the rituals or read out that language, whatever it is. But you know what I mean. Just like you can make anything uh,
Right, a religion.
real like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know. But
Well,
we're very excited to have you guys
oh,
on
thank you.
Paragon. That's why I've
Yeah.
been promoting you guys so much.
Aw.
Have you been? Yeah, well, we're special. Thank you.
Yeah,
We'll
we
come.
welcome
We'll
we
show our
welcome
specialty.
Rhode Island and Massachusetts to our nutmeg Connecticut state, uh, New England neighbors. New England is probably, I would say, in my experience, one of the most haunted places in the United States. So that's why I love doing things here so much. And it's at the Ansonia Armory. It's paracon.org. That's PARACONN.org. If anybody wants to get tickets, it is a week from this Saturday, but it is a pleasure to have you guys there, and I can't wait to hear the knowledge that you guys are going to share there and stuff like that.
Well, we'll have fun with it. In fact, I have a request for you. I might as well put it to you now that
Absolutely.
if Elise and I could speak kind of at the same time, like one feed into another. I assume we had an hour each for us or something like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If you could throw us up there on stage together, I think we can segue into each other's talk
Sure,
without
yeah.
not so much a joint lecture, but to have our own
Yeah.
time up there. Just seems
We
like
can
we'd
work
be
it out.
more
Absolutely. Yeah. That's cool. I dig that.
So I'll ruin her lecture before she comes on. I've gotten into her notes. I know what she's going to say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll erase your PowerPoint.
Yeah, you can do that. You don't even have to look. You know where to do that. And I've got nothing. Yeah.
No, believe me, you can stand there and talk for the 2 hours all by yourself.
And my brother and I share that propensity. Yeah,
Yep.
We can just get I could do a lecture now for 2 hours and just talk. And
Oh yeah.
it's better when you got visuals and all that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To be the Carl show.
We actually have a question from somebody who's watching who asks, Taylor asks, you mentioned the occult. What are your feelings of Santeria or Palo Mayombe? I don't know.
Okay, so I've actually, I live here in Connecticut, and there is an underground scene of Palo Mayombe here. It's mainly seems to go on in the Latin American culture more or less, but there are people of other cultures that actually practice Palo Mayombe. Santeria and Palo Mayombe are not the same. Palo Mayombe is a very, very, very dark art. If you want to say a black magic version of Santeria, you could say Palo Mayombe comes close to that. What they do is, and you could look this up and Google this about Connecticut here. There's many types of times people go in the cemetery and they dig up human remains, and they do okay, so they do this to heal. They use the human remains to heal people. That's what they say a lot of times, but a lot of people have got caught for that and it's showed up in the paper many times, especially in
know.
Bridgeport and Hartford area. Santeria, I don't know. Like I do know about it. I mean, it's like a kind of it's not exactly voodoo. It's kind of a Wiccan version of.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard for me to describe. It's like they believe so. Catholicism has saints, and a lot of like these practitioners of Santeria, they don't just pray to them, but they in a way worship them. And
Yeah.
they also do take, from the voodoo faith, there are elements of it as well. I mean, there's actually this lady in Bridgeport named Maria, and I like to go there because I like to collect artifacts and all sorts of stuff. And she's actually a very sweet lady, but I just don't know how to judge any that much, but I could tell you this: Palo Mayombe and Santeria are two different things. They really are. As a matter of fact, I believe Palo Mayombe comes more from uh, Africa than anything else, and it's more of a much darker form. It's a
Yes,
very secretive form too.
it's not so removed as a Santeria, which was, of course, practiced on the
It's
island.
if somebody from a practitioner of that religion, Palo Mayombe, puts a curse on you, I mean, you're going to be dealing with some real business trying to remove that curse from somebody, because we actually did have that happen in a case in New Haven. I felt so bad for the guy because what happened was like he was facing 6 years in prison, and he was going to court for it, and he went to like the bruja, they call themselves.
Mhm.
I believe that means witch in Latin American. And she charged him $3,000, $4,000, and she said she'll get him out of trouble. So when he went to court, she came with him, and the judge was about to sentence him to 6 years, and the judge, like, he was like, "Okay, I sentence you to I." He couldn't talk. Then all of a sudden he popped out and said, 6 years. And he's like, wait a minute, that's not right. 6 years. And then the prosecutor said, no, 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 that's not right. You said 6 months. I sentenced you to 6 months. So
Oh,
instead
wow.
of 6 years, he got 6 months.
Wow.
And what happened was, the whole story is very fascinating, because what happened was the lawyer after the court case, he said, I don't know what the hell happened, but get out of here as fast as you can now. You know, so he didn't pay her uh what she charged, and she put this
Oh,
wicked curse on him.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was
wow.
very serious, and his face was like, he had this gray complexion, and it was really messed up, and it was so hard. And honestly, I'll be honest, I couldn't remove this from this gentleman. I spent months and months and months at this household, and you know y- you know you bond with these people when you do paranormal, and try to help them. There's a bond between us paranormal investigators and them. So I did kind of bond with the guy, and I just could not remove this curse.
it's absolutely fascinating. Was there
Remove
a
it.
lesson?
I put hypnosis on him and everything else.
Uh-huh.
I learned hypnosis. I put hypnosis on him, and I tried to remove it. It was a whole process. You know, it was kind of alternative, but sometimes I experiment with alternative methods.
Well,
Right.
Scientific.
the person who asked that question also wrote another message here. It says, "You're not wrong. I'm a Palo Mayombe priest."
Yeah.
Well, well.
Well,
Person.
a lot of them, like the Palem. You know what? It was so interesting that somebody's asking this question, because a couple years ago I was looking, and you know what? I like to film stuff, so I was looking for somebody in Connecticut to show me around that community, and so I could film the culture on it. And as a matter of fact, going back to the Santeria, I asked Maria if I could film her and teach people in a documentary about the Santeria culture, and she said she doesn't do it for publicity. So whether you think Palo Mayombe is evil or not, I believe that their intentions are for the good most of the time. But then again, you know what? In any occult practice, there's always a 15% of the population that does black magic, and that's just how it is. That's even Wicca. That's Wicca. That's Thelema, Palo Mayombe, Santeria, anything. Even Buddhism even has occult practices. I mean, they have this thing called Kuman Thong. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
No, now you're teaching me something new.
Yeah, I mean, they have these amulets, and what they do is it's pretty dark actually, and it's very rare to find now. But what they do is it's kind of gruesome. This is not for the faint-hearted, but if a baby dies in the community, they make a fire and they turn the baby to ashes and they put them in this amulet. It was very similar to the Palo Mayombe phenomenon. They put the ashes in this amulet and they do like a ritual on it, and basically it's supposed to protect from negative entities. So the interesting thing is that's very similar phenomenon in a way to the Palo Mayombe faith and practitioners.
Both of those too sound a lot like when they had the vampire scares in the late 1800s. You had white people digging people up and burning them and feeding them.
I heard that they exhumed about 80 graves there in Rhode Island.
It was proliferate through Rhode Island and Connecticut.
Yeah, Connecticut too. Yep.
And that was a remedy
to vampires and everything else here. Salem had definitely more executions with the witches than Connecticut, but Connecticut was pretty much right under it with that. As a matter of fact, we have an infamous witch called Hannah Cranna here. That she was the Wicked Witch of Monroe, Connecticut, and she literally had the villagers shook. They were terrified of her, and she would threaten to put curses if they didn't bake pies and put it on her windowsill.
Wow.
So, yeah, but I mean, Connecticut's a great place, and that's why Connecticut is extremely haunted, and it's just perfect just to have like the Paracon over there. Well, same with Salem, and but it's going to be great, and it's going to be great having you guys as the guests, and Brian Cano has a lot of knowledge. Paranormal caught on camera. I liked billing him as a paranormal investigator and a paranormal philosopher, because he has so much knowledge, and it's going to be great. May 13th, Paracon at Ansonia Armory, Ansonia, Connecticut. Again, paracon.org, paraconn.org to get tickets. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of psychics. But that Palo Mayombe was such a great question, because I'm actually honored that I could answer that question, because it's such an underground faith. So I am kind of honored that somebody asked me that question, because literally it's very underground. So it's kind of a rare opportunity there. I mean, that will go on my top 10 for.
I wanted to ask, when I was first studying that, I was in Puerto Rico for 4 months specifically to study Santeria, which of course is transliterated as the Way of the Saints. And Palo Mayombe was only whispered about, hushed tones. I tried to ask, this is a long time ago, I'm talking 1976. And I tried to ask about it. And somebody in the room spoke up, and he said, es nada, don't talk about it, And I didn't speak much Spanish at the time, I still don't, but I was, I said, that means like, stop it, the way, but it's a more formal way of saying it. And, I wondered why it was not, why they didn't want to talk about it. And I think I know more now why they didn't talk about it. Santeria, even that was hushed up, but you could speak of it. I did attend Santerian ceremony, I guess you could call it, a rite.
I've done it myself decades ago, but there definitely is rather a pretty decent sized community here in Connecticut that does that, Santeria, and there's definitely a portion that studies the Mayombe or the Palo Mayombe here in Connecticut as well. As a matter of fact, like I said, Google Connecticut Palo Mayombe bones or something like that. You'll see like a bunch of articles came up.
Well, at least we'll get right on it after the show.
Again, whoever asked that question, thank you for letting me answer that question, because it's I definitely feel privileged to answer that question because how hush hush that whole thing is. So
Well,
thank you for giving me that
you're
chance.
addressing it very respectfully, Nicholas.
Absolutely. You know what? I respect every religious faith. I do. I have my own personal belief system. It's a bit eccentric, but I just respect whatever's real is up there is real. Um, I believe in what I believe. But everybody here on Earth is on a mission to figure out what is up there and what is the real deal.
Right.
I won't go into what I believe in,
Yeah.
but I do respect everybody's religious faith or spirituality or occult, whatever.
Yeah, it's not
I
good to
do. I
condemn
do
somebody
respect.
else's other, belief unless you have actually had the experience with it.
Yeah.
I've heard Satanists referred to as the lunatic fringe of the occult.
Yeah.
And sometimes that does apply.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you also get some that just like the symbolism and what they perceive to be the excitement of whatever it is they've heard about, and kind of make it up as they go along. And hey, I'm one of them. No, you're not. You're just a
Absolutely
girl
nailed
walking
it
around.
right there. There's a lot of people that just like to be in with like a community and do it for a trend.
Yes.
Even in like the pagan faith too, you get a lot of that as well. But there's a good number of real practitioners that do that. But Satanism, it's definitely a very different religion. I for one, I don't really relate to it. But again, I don't judge. But from what I understand, is they rely more on psychic abilities that uh, we have as human beings, and they're kind of atheists more or less, and they believe in the power of themselves. That's from what I understand. But
one could say.
Just look at you.
Thank you.
And to an extent, I'll agree. I think us people have access to supernatural. I think God has gave us access to supernatural abilities, and I think we're living in a day and age now where we're having like some type of evolution of some type, and we're all starting to discover that. And I think people like myself that have been through what I've been through and are born naturally with this ability. Everybody else could have this ability, but I think people like myself who are born unnatural at this, we help people cope with what we were going through, developing the supernatural ability. But I do believe, like we only use like 15 to 20% of our brain. Think about that. Think about this huge brain back there.
Right.
Well, thinking about it with my 15 to 20%, that's as good as I can do for you.
They're called the most complicated machine in the universe, and only using a little bit of it. And until you discover what those other parts are that you don't know how to use, we don't see the whole spectrum of light that's available out there. We don't hear the whole range of sounds that are out there.
It could be a physical component of our brain, and the brain is holographic and quantum based, I think. But
absolutely,
we have for vision, we have the Broca's area for speech, vision up a little higher, and then there might be something that enables us to perceive. I mean, it's a survival tool.
The pineal gland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which obviously, it has no obvious function.
Yeah,
but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
What did it used to do, or what can it do?
It does a lot more than they used to. They used to think it was just like your appendix that was no longer needed, but they're finding that it does control, some hormones and some thought.
Well, there's meditations that open up your third eye, and they open up the gland, and it actually really works.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, you can actually
That's
affect
how
the
I
physicality of it.
Excuse me, my allergies.
Yeah, that week.
Yeah, you and I have that in common as well.
I don't see him. I don't usually see him with my physical eyesight. I see it with supernatural eyesight.
Right.
Sometimes I see him with physical eyesight, but it's more 80% of the time I see it through like chakra colors in a way I can't really describe it. I mean, I could see it in their faces, features, and details, and everything else, but they're not like me looking at YouTube right now.
Right.
I can't really describe it. I'm sure you guys could kind of know what I'm talking about in a way, but
Yeah,
I see
it's a
them.
different kind of site where,
It's a
you know,
different
you
site.
have people live in
Absolutely.
auras, you have people have different colors around them. Some people can see that, some people can't.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
I can't.
Well,
I'm trying. I'm working on
I
it.
don't
But
know. We've had some remarkable experiments.
we've had a few psychic experiments that turned out pretty well. We
Like
had a little club going where we're guessing cards,
Yeah.
and we were doing pretty well with a friend. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was
That's a tough
elating
one,
and
too. That's not easy. The
No.
ESP with the cards. That's not easy.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a quote that I always like to use. It was a science fiction writer. I forgot her name, but you know, there's no such thing as the supernatural. There are only things we don't yet understand. The things are there. It's not like a whole nother category. It's there. We just can't see, hear, feel it very well yet. And when we do, we haven't learned exactly how it works. We haven't been able to study it, categorize it.
Right.
And then unfortunately, if somebody will figure that out and figure out how to monetize it, because that's what happens whenever you discover something good and new.
I always say this: magic, and I spell it with a K instead of a C.
Okay. That sounds very Freudian.
All it is science that has not does not have a rational explanation.
Figured out yet.
As soon as they find out, as soon as they find out a mathematical explanation for it, it becomes a form of science. So think about all the science back then, and like alchemy and all that stuff that they had no idea. And of course, that was magic.
It was magic.
But they're onto something. Yeah. I'll quote an
Absolutely.
author that I've read extensively. Howard Stanton Levy. He's deceased now. He died in 1997. Howard Stanton Levy, and he said all science was considered magic at one time.
Right.
And then he expounded on that.
I mean, look at think of our cell phones. I mean, think of it
Who
like
would have
this.
dreamed?
Let's bring up your magic wand again.
Yeah.
We could think of our cell phone as similar to a magic wand in a way.
Really?
Because it's a tool
When you were a kid, imagine.
ESP somebody from across the world.
Right.
Think about it like that.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. If we went back into Renaissance times with our cell phone, and called somebody from across, we'd be dead. They would kill us, or they.
He's a witch.
You have trouble getting a signal, though. Wait a minute. Oh, hold on. I could, But
God
yeah,
forbid we went to Salem, Massachusetts with the cell phone. We would. Think about it.
Definitely.
I mean, it's basically a magical tool, just like that wand.
Right.
If you think about it, it's very similar. Yeah.
So now, these things that we can't explain, that we just kind of see here and there and we don't understand yet, it could be that the explanation isn't available in the science that we know. Like we think linearly, we think in a time pattern.
Right.
We think
No,
from
we can't get away
one
from that.
thing
We
to
just
the
need
next.
to think that way.
It's a little bit more of an extreme way, but it's very similar, to what we're talking about,
Yeah.
And this is the sending, the carnelian stone, and this is the receiving.
Right.
Crystal quartz.
I'll read the comments.
I love quartz.
Do you have those glasses?
I do. Either one of us
Can you
do.
read?
Yeah, but it's gone now.
Away.
But
We've got a few wands right now drying off.
From there, sure.
It takes about a 3-day process to dry because I get a clear epoxy resin and I shellac the wand with the epoxy, and it takes a good 3 days to dry, but it makes.
If you want it to stay,
Absolutely, yeah. Like if they drop it, I don't want it to. You know what I mean. But I just like making them. I just have a lot of fun with them, and I try to make different uses for them, and all that other stuff. So I make magic potion as well.
Oh, nice.
And I put that out in the moon. I make dragon's blood potion. I make Florida water. It's actually a pretty easy process. You just get the cheapest vodka you could buy at the store, a big jug of it, and you put the ingredients in there and let it sit for 3 months, and it pulls all the scents into the liquid from the ingredients. Then after 3 months, you get a paper towel and you pour it. You let it sit in the full moon for whatever it's going through, and then after that, that's when you get a paper towel and you pour it on there and catch in a net all the stuff. And it actually smells really good too. And you know what? If you're in a jam and you have a little bottle Florida water. You just spray around, and it's basically sage water. That's all it is.
Oh,
Yeah, it basically
is that one of the ingredients in it?
got a few other ingredients in it. But
Oh.
yeah, if you're in a gym, you have a little spritzer. That's how I make them, and you put it in your pocket or your glove compartment. You're in a jam. Boom, boom, boom. It's a quick Band-Aid.
Traffic be gone.
Yeah.
Band-Aid, yeah. But
Like,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you've invited some bad mojo.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so all of us paranormal explorers from time to time, at least I want to say like twice a year. I mean, sometimes for myself, I'll be honest with you, I get a little bit comfortable and I start forgetting to do cleansing myself after investigations. I think a lot of us paranormal investigators are guilty of that in some form. But, for being a paranormal investigator, we are around that, bad juju and bad negativity very often. And you know what? Sometimes we could be after an investigation laying down in bed and be woken up by, whatever following us back. But, it's actually very common, for stuff to follow you from time to
I've
time.
had that. I've had that once. It was
Yeah.
not disturbing to me. It was absolutely fascinating,
Yeah.
but it has not occurred since. Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
No.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
But that's why I have the little spritzer bottle. Little
And
Band-Aid.
even honestly, with even if you weren't dealing with something paranormal, a lot of times you're dealing with negative people who their energy is just
Their energy is
off on
paranormal.
you, and
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
after you've had to explain to them that they are their own problem. Sometimes it's good to make sure you kind of brush it off on the way out.
I try to just surround myself with as much positivity as possible, because I do believe in like the Zen meditation, and I'm a very calm person most of the time. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I could be unzen. That's just like everybody else. Sometimes I'll go through periods where I'm unzen for like a couple months. But
For that long, yeah.
yeah, but
Regrouping.
that it's important if you want a nice, calm, zen uh lifestyle to surround yourself with as much people pick you up as you can. And help as many people as you can. But don't let people bring you down. You can't
Right.
if you're helping, it's always good to help somebody that's in the gutter, but it's when they pull you down with them, that's when you have to let go of them. And that, you just got to be careful with that sometimes. But I like to try to maintain zen, but like everybody else, I go through periods where I'm pretty unzen.
I think you've just answered a question or a comment and question by Sarah Yosef.
Okay.
Can you read that? Oh, okay. It's in big letters now. Now you can.
I can read it. Ultimately, the
ahead.
material world is based on different types of energy. As someone who creates and alters their energetic environment, yourself, how would you handle negative phenomena?
Negative phenomena.
Very general terming, but I
Negative
think
phenomena.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. I swear by surrounding yourself with as much positive people. Life is about enjoyment. Life is about enjoyment. And it's not going to be hard. People make it hard. And we have to surround ourselves with as much positivity as possible. And if somebody is toxic, you have to let them go, unfortunately. If you can't avoid the person, then you have to deal with it like a Zen master would. And, just
Right. You can't
eat
take
into it as less as possible and try to have compassion for the person.
Right. You can't
Best
take
thing
it
you could
on
actually
yourself.
do is pray to God to have him deal with that person rather than you.
Yeah.
Try to hope that
Yeah.
that person will be removed.
But I mean, it is important because me, I'm psychic, I'm sensitive, I'm a super sensitive guy, and I'm super sensitive to like people sometimes. I
Really?
us psychic people, we see life at a more detailed, amplified scale than regular people do. So that's why we're able to see spirits because our sight, pineal gland is amplified.
Right.
All of our senses are more amplified than a typical human being has. So, it's just very important to surround yourself with that, especially for a guy like me. It's almost vital that I surround myself with positive people. But then again, I could be very negative. I'm a human being. I think we all can. It's just part of being
Right.
human. The fact is, you just have to pick yourself up. See, the thing is, too, if you get on a frequency where you are super positive, you can manifest anything you want positive coming into your life. Literally, you could think that you're going to get $100 in a week and you'll start attracting money. The positivity is a very magical thing, and
Right.
negativity is a very
Right.
magical thing too.
Right. You see it more often in the negativity where people
Absolutely.
say,
The law,
"Oh my God, this will never work. This will never work."
the law of
Congratulations. You know it.
attraction is a very real thing. The
Yes,
law of
I believe
attraction is
so.
real,
Right.
a real thing, a real phenomenon.
Yeah.
So to me, it's
Yeah.
important.
Of course, while negativity is not, something to which to aspire,
Right.
it's a survival mechanism. If somebody's like
Right.
pissed off, they're aggravated, moody, something got them to that point, and their psyche is trying to rebel against that. They may go
Right.
about it the wrong way and end up repelling people by
Mhm.
complaining all the time. But
Yep.
there's something to it. It's like, don't stand for something inside is saying, don't stand for this anymore. Defend yourself.
Right.
Bitch about everything.
Yeah, because you're
No,
putting
you're
that
right. You're
message into your
100% have a point
subconscious.
there. There's
Yeah.
a balance. There's a balance between it. You have to have both. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about it like this world we're living, we're living in a rite of passage. That's what life is. If you
Yes.
think about it, it's a rite of
Yes.
passage. But
Yes.
there has to be a balance of positivity and negativity. And I'll tell you why. Because if there was no negativity on this world,
Hmm.
life would not exist. Okay,
Right.
we need to have challenging experiences here for us to pass someday. I
To
mean, there's
grow.
all sorts of phases that we have to go through, and that
Right.
negativity creates a challenge. So if you think about the yin and the yang, as much as negativity sucks, excuse my French, that's just part of life.
Right.
And you could choose to live more negative or you could choose to live more positive, but you're always going to have negativity. And that's just life because, we're in I enjoy life. Life is very enjoyable, but, this is a rite of passage.
Right. And the problem is most people are in
It's
a
not going to be
reactive state.
simple. It's not
Reactive.
going to be simple sometimes.
Yeah. People just
but
react. They don't create their own reality. They don't
that's it.
even
Yeah.
realize they have the agency to choose between positive and negative.
And
Yeah.
there's no
They just do it.
There's no filtration. It's just an expression.
They let the outside
Think
in.
about the saying, all birds flock in the same feather. So that's very important because I really do believe that if you hang out with a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
who are very negative, you're most likely going to start acting similar to them. But if you surround yourself with positive birds,
Right. You make the choice of what
you're
you're
going
going
to be
to think.
great. Yeah. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
enjoy
definitely.
life.
To
I
quote
do.
Bela Lugosi, you
I
are
enjoy the rite of passage.
profound.
I definitely do.
Look at this. I found look at this purple feather.
Ah, nice.
I think that belongs in my wand.
Nice, man.
Yeah,
There
I
you
think
go.
that's
Nice.
going to be incorporated in.
Very cool. I dig
Yeah.
it. Purple. I
Well,
love the color purple. I'm an artist. I use it
somebody
all
else
the
I
time.
know,
I
somebody
use it
I
all the time.
respect very much likes
Yeah.
the color purple.
Well, people of my zodiac sign, Sagittarius, the purple is the color.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that background that you guys have with the lightning for the
Yes.
Ghost Storm logo, if you go to my website, I have a similar background.
Oh, cool.
It's
Ah,
purple. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So, ¿dónde es su cumpleaños? When is your birthday?
12/06/1980.
Okay, close to mine. Mine is 1209.
Nice.
Babe.
Nice tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You're a
the last digits
Sagittario.
are a little different. The
You're a
last four-
Sagittario.
I am a Sagittario. I am the philosopher.
You're the
Love to hear myself
philosopher.
talk.
Yes, you got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Not me.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
We're a very rare zodiac sign too. We're
There
more
aren't many
rare.
of us,
Yeah.
are there?
And so is Aquarius. It's
That's
more
right.
earth
Aquarians
signs
rule,
and
let me
water
tell you.
signs. You're Aquarius?
Yes.
My chart
Oh,
says
wow. That's why you
I
get
get along
along
very
so
well
well,
with
both of you.
Aquarians.
Both of you get along well. So, fire. Okay, so there's fire, air, water, and earth. If you think about it, fire and air go together. Fire and fire go together. Fire and air go together because the air that makes the fire Oxygen makes the fire go. And same with earth and water. Earth and water go together. So those signs go together. But the wonderful thing about our zodiac sign, Sagittarius, is we're friends with them all. We don't have to even be totally compatible with them. We're just friends with them all. That's what's so great about it. Sagittarius folks.
I once saw a T-shirt that said "God is a Sagittarius." I didn't buy it. I wish I had. I couldn't stand to do it at the time, but yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know. Probably like 1980. God is a Sagittarius. Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of T-shirts, I just have to interject. We're not dressed at all alike tonight. What are you gonna?
Oh, I've got
what
on
is
my.
this?
I showed him this. My Tombstone T-shirt, Johnston
Yes,
Historical
I love it.
Society.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody wants one, go to my other Facebook page, Johnson Historical
Very
Society.
cute.
Send me a DM, and I can hook you up.
I can imagine an orange
Sorry.
one at Halloween. An orange with a black imprint on it.
That's a
Have
good
a limited
idea.
run, but yeah,
That's a good idea.
it would look great together. Well, we reached our time limit a little while ago, but I let it go on longer because
We got a little-
Man.
we had a
Yeah.
delay, as you know.
No,
And that Palo Mayombe thing made my night because,
Yeah.
that's a very privilege to actually be able to talk to somebody who does that because they're so private about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I just want to plug Paracon again. I mean, we have Sean
definitely,
Austin.
that's what
Please
we
do.
have.
Yeah.
We have Sean Austin. We have Connecticut Paranormal Research Team. We have a whole bunch of other great guests as well as you guys there and Brian Cano. And there's tons of psychic readers. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's also going to be the end of Mercury in retrograde. So come get a nice cleansing. Come get a nice cleansing while you're there. I don't know what it is. This Mercury in retrograde is not hitting me at all. I don't understand it. But if you are being affected, please come next Saturday. We can get a nice cleansing from one of the readers there and get you a nice fresh start to the end of Mercury retrograde. But Paracon Paranormal Convention, Ansonia, Connecticut, paracon.org. That's PARACONN.org. See you there.
I love that name. That's so creative. I noticed that person that asked that question also just left a message. If you want to talk, I'm available. So you have your contact there.
Yeah, tell them, give them my contact or whatever. Yeah, I would love to.
And perhaps you as well, Elise, because you're such an apt researcher and you're hungry for knowledge. It's as if you don't know enough already.
I gotta go look up those newspaper articles about somebody digging people up.
Well, yeah, Elise found something interesting. Elise does, besides being doing museum curation, Elise is also cemetery restoration, cemetery conservator. Yep. And are you a conservatrix, I guess? And you get more mail that way. And Elise, in other words, she cleans cemeteries and
that's cool.
stones. Just keeps them, restores.
Hey, thanks.
And reclaims the cemeteries. And Elise had an interesting finding once. I was not there for it. In a holding crypt.
Yeah.
You want to tell me?
A bag of chicken, actually, with the feathers still on it, feet attached, and a row of pennies and candles. And
hey, you find that when you do, and that's another thing about us paranormal folks. You find that from time to time.
Oh yeah,
investigations outside and in tunnels and Dudley Town. That's another next time. Sometime when I'm on again, ask me about Dudley Town.
Oh, I shall. Yeah, and it was deliberate that that chicken carcass was put inside a tomb. That had to be some symbolism. That, as Jerry Seinfeld might observe, coincidence? I think not. Well, yeah.
I'm the only one who goes in the crypts when I clean the cemetery anyway.
Denise Empey said, hi. Yes, yeah. You're the only. Yeah, we've got photographs. You're the only one who will go down there and stay down there and take pictures.
They're built so well, though. They're made out of stone, and they've got the shelves that are built right in the slabs. That's where they'd hold the bodies before they had to wait for spring.
Two things Elise Carlson is not. She is not fearful, and she is not squeamish. Apparently,
Very cool.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Memento mori.
Well, it's not that she's without fear. It's just that she's more curious than she would be afraid.
Yeah.
So it overrides any trepidation, I think. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, it was
a pleasure.
Everybody was saying hi. And
I love sharing the knowledge and the wisdom. I love learning too.
So we'll continue this conversation next Saturday.
Sounds great.
Great.
Peace.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Very much.
Bright blessings.